The way I look at this right now, if this isn't a wake-up call for the United States of America, we need a gut check on what we think our country is. The messages in the protests that are taking place right now. 400 years have led up to this frustration that won't be contained anymore. And it's coming to a boil all across the United States right now. Speaking out for justice and speaking out for truth about things that have been way too damn long and coming.
In Louisville, this is not just about George Floyd. This is about a woman named Breonna Taylor who also lost her life.
March 13th, 2020. This will be a date that will stay etched in the hearts and minds of people throughout our city. In the early hours of this clear but cold night, a team of narcotic officers were about to make a decision that would shake our city.
911, Operator Harris, where is your emergency?
I don't know what's happening. Somebody kicked in the door and shot my girlfriend.
Okay, where are you located?
We were hearing that 911 call from Breonna Taylor's boyfriend.
Oh my God.
Can you get her turned over on her back?
Around 12:42, March 13th, EMS is flooded with calls from neighbors reporting gunfire.
There was a lot of gunshots. Yeah, I need to get over here. They're shooting out like crazy.
The police shooting that resulted in the death of an EMT.
In a time of COVID, she was an essential worker, the kind of person that you and I would rely on if the worst happens and we got sick.
The mother of Breonna Taylor.
I was more concerned with her washing her hands than dying at home.
They took like a big part of our life away from us.
Loved ones of Breonna Taylor grieving and outraged.
This should have never happened.
This is a tragedy that nobody wanted to see happen, and for that, I'm truly sorry that it did take place.
In the midst of a pandemic, they had taken the life of a young, bright, frontline worker, an EMT, one of the very roles we solely depended on.
These photos show the damage caused by the police after they entered the apartment with a search warrant and fired more than 20 rounds. Taylor was hit at least 8 times.
We have no assurance of how long investigations will take.
Now here we are in a city, Louisville, Kentucky, that history we will remember because of the execution of Breonna Taylor. And it was an execution.
When the picture of the 26-year-old started circling social media, dressed in her EMT uniform, proudly holding a diploma, people started to listen and question why she died.
It brought to my mind what were the contributing factors that led to this incident. And so we found out there were actually 5 no-knock search warrants issued, interestingly enough, on Elliott Avenue. And I said, I'm gonna go and just see what this house looks like. I'll never forget, I turned down the street and I began to see this whole block, and it was like just the first glance as an eerie feeling that came over me. House after house after house boarded up. And as I looked at the blight on that block, the word neglect, it's a glaring neglect. And it's not that the residents have neglected, it's that the city has not provided the opportunities for transformation. Yet there is mention of surveillance that had taken place. I said to myself, it's just crazy that we could spend the money to put a camera up on a pole, have officers monitoring the street. Everybody's looking at the street, but no one has lifted the street.
On a deeper level, the killing of Breonna Taylor and the reverberating effects of protests, riots, violence, and death exposes major contradictions within city governments across our nation. Because police departments are called upon to maintain order in a social and economic system where the wealthy and poor have competing interests. Policing comes to mean addressing the problems bothering the wealthy and powerful and targeting the poor and Black.
If we get distracted on solely looking at what the police have done, and we do not pay attention to the economic disinvestment, then we have really missed the ultimate causation.
We need economic democracy. Too few people have too much, and too many have virtually nothing. As we seek to overcome racial separation, class division is now haunting us. Y'all bear with me for a minute. It says self-respect and not self-degradation matters. Self-respect must be more important than a dollar. Dignity more important than a dollar.
So this tree has different branches, and on one branch can be crime, on another branch could be drug abuse. But really, when it comes to economically distressed communities, those are symptoms. The real issues start in the root system. The fact that she was shot, you could easily say it's a police issue. Well, really, what happened to her directly reflects the roots.
For the last several months, this Commonwealth has been dealing with the pandemic that has laid bare and put on full display our society's inequalities and injustice. This display hasn't been in words or theories, it's been in death. Our society's inequalities span over 400 years of slavery, segregation, Jim Crow, and overt and implicit racism. Our symbol, Lady Justice, is supposed to be blind, but many in our state feel, rightfully so, that color is all that's seen. And the incidents from Louisville with Breonna to Minneapolis show it is very real. In my short time as governor, I've had individuals try to create fear and terror in my own family. But that's been a few days, maybe a week, certainly not a lifetime. I will never understand how it feels to carry the frustration and fatigue of racism in a world and a country that has failed to address it in a meaningful way. But I can listen to others describe it. I can learn from that experience, and I can do as governor whatever I can to help.
Some Louisville faith leaders today are demanding that LMPD suspend and prosecute the officers involved in the deadly shooting of Breonna Taylor.
Bottom line is, we do not believe that these officers should get by with what they have done without accountability.
President of the IMC, Dr. Frank Smith, along with other faith leaders, believe if the officers had used other strategies when serving the no-knock search warrants, Breonna Taylor would still be alive.
So you have this level of an economic injustice that impacts blacks. Our tax dollars are funding the pay of officers like these, from a distressed community. How many houses so far? 1, 2, 3, 4. Empty, vacant lot, overgrown. Forgotten about, forsaken. Elliott is a reflection of so many other streets in Louisville, so many other streets in urban cities around this nation. The same thing, where there has been a decision to put cameras on a pole, law enforcement, rather than let's deal with transforming this neighborhood. And you see all of we have upon us an opportunity to say, if we're going to talk about surveillance of a community, then we need to use the surveillance that we have and say, oh, what I see is what I have not seen. What I see is what I have neglected.